Somebody who I would put momentum behind to help win is my next guest and fellow traveller. It's David Curtin, head of the Heritage Party. David, great to see you. How are you?
Thanks, Lembit. I'm doing well, and good to see you back on the air as well. It's fantastic.
Well, it's really fantastic that Mike, the station owner, has got us going, and it means we'll have many happy times on air again. How's the Heritage Party? You had a conference.
Yeah, that was about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, but it was fantastic. It was our third annual conference. It was our best one ever. And we had amazing speakers from the party. And also what was a good thing is a lot of guests came in to speak as well, who are, like you say, fellow travelers. We got the same aims. We want the same thing for the country. You know, people like Kim Isherwood from Public Child Protection Wales, who is fighting the sexualization of children in schools. Richard Jeffs, who's done a documentary video on stakeholder capitalism, and many other people we had come along. The UK column guys came to speak about free speech and so on. You know, all things that we would all agree on, that we see happening in our country to degenerate what's going on, but we want to get rid of all that degeneration and restore our nation. So it was really good to be on the stage with lots of like-minded people at our conference, and it was a good day. Really, really good day. Thanks.
Invite me next year and I'll be there faster than you can say Narcissus. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about she who shall be named Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, who, it seems to me, David, broke just about every promise they made in the election. Labour said they weren't going to put up tax for the workers. What's your take as somebody who has never been tainted, unlike me, by the uni party? I was in the Lib Dems once when they were liberal and democratic. How do you see the budget, the first budget of the Labour Party for over 14 years?
Well, the fact that they broke their promises is no big surprise, because this is what happens every election. The fake Conservatives, the fake Labour Party, have got nothing to do with the labouring man and woman these days. They promise all kinds of things, and then as soon as they get into power, they break their promises and they say, oh, we didn't know this, therefore we got to do this, which is different to what we said in our manifesto before the election. You simply can't trust them. I mean, if you don't realise that by now, you know, I've got some magic beans to sell you, as I say. But the budget was terrible. It was terrible for everybody. I mean, they didn't put up the headline rates of tax for workers, but we've got this fiscal drag going on where they're not putting up the thresholds in line with inflation, so everyone's purchasing power goes down. But it's even worse for businesses and for farmers. Those were the two things that they've really created chaos. This is like a budget which is a war on small businesses, and it's a war on farms and farmers. The inheritance tax that they're now put on land values for agricultural land, they've never had that before, mean that small family farms will have to sell 20% or more of their land if somebody dies, which means that farms are going to become unviable. And of course, what that means is the big corporations, you know, the BlackRocks and the Vanguards and Bill Gates foundations and whatever little pies he's got his fingers in, will like rush in and buy up the agricultural land, which has become distressed when somebody dies. It's absolutely horrible. It's horrific what they're doing to farmers, to the rural community here. And of course, small businesses are going to be hammered with this extra employers' national insurance rise and the lowering of the threshold. So they're going to have to start paying employers' national insurance at £5,000 rather than £9,100. So that's an extra £600 per employee they're going to have to pay, as well as finding the money to pay the rise in the minimum wage, which big businesses can soak up, because they can just convert to AI. So, you know, they say this is for workers, but actually workers are going to lose jobs because companies are not going to pay the extra salary. So they'll either go to AI, or they will cut workers' hours, or they'll cut some jobs to keep the wage bill the same. It's going to be very, very bad, ironically, for a lot of workers, what they've done here. So nobody wins, everybody loses with this dreadful regime.
And then, of course, we have all those annoying conversations with pretend people. That'll be difficult for you. So you'd like to buy some curtains? No, that's my name. Okay, let's start again. So let me ask you this question then. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, has clearly, in my view, punished rural communities. I was watching her on the lamestream media trying to justify it this morning. Clearly doesn't understand that just because you have a large capital asset as a farm, it doesn't mean that you're loaded, and the farms will start getting broken up, and it'll erode the rural position. I understand that they don't really care about farmers because they don't think they get many votes there. But how can they think they can get away with punishing so many small business people with what is obviously a tax on workers, which is national insurance?
Yeah, well, this woman here, Rachel Reeves, it doesn't seem like she's got any good understanding of economics or the economy or business or how it works at all whatsoever, which is why she's doing all of these kind of things which are disastrous for just about everybody. I mean, we knew Labour didn't care about pensioners when they took away the winter fuel allowance for 10 million pensioners. Now we see that they're completely disregarding farmers, but then the businesses as well. I mean, it's like, well, don't you realize if you want to help workers, you're going to have to help businesses, because businesses employ workers and give them a salary, and they need to make a profit. Otherwise, they go out of business, and then everybody loses their jobs. I mean, she doesn't seem to get this very basic fundamental understanding. And, you know, it sounds nice that they're going to increase the minimum wage, but it's counterproductive, you know, when it goes above a certain level. And then raiding them for extra national insurance, again, that sounds like, okay, well, when we're not putting this on workers, we're putting it on businesses. But again, there's no understanding that this is actually going to destroy businesses, and some people are going to be out of a job, so workers actually lose in the end of the day. At the end of the day, so absolutely terrible in terms of intelligence there from Rachel Reeves in this budget, and everybody can see it. I mean, she's like now the emperor's new clothes. She hasn't got anything to cover up her lack of intelligence and lack of understanding.
It's a family show.
I realized I was walking towards a pit there, and I diverted.
A terrible trap
at the last minute.
It is horrendous. This sounds pejorative, sounds rude, but I was watching, and I just don't think she's intelligent enough to do the job. I literally just think she's not smart enough to do the job, because she couldn't grasp the fact that whatever the percentages she's churning out, given to her, no doubt, by her staff about farming, you have to have a lot of land to make food. Didn't get that. Just doesn't seem to understand it. And this pedantic way they claim they've kept their promises when no one really believes it. Hardly surprising then. Last question for you. Unlike you, you're flying high as leader of your party, unchallenged as head of Heritage. Keir Starmer's popularity is now something like minus 38%.
Yeah, it is. It's extraordinary. Just 3 or 4 months, is it, after the election, that his popularity is the lowest ever for prime minister, or very, very close to that. You know, clearly he promised all this wonderful utopia that's going to come in, and like everyone, you know, with his kind of set of views and principles, well, there aren't really any principles, then he's just destroying the fabric of the nation. So everyone can see that he's a grim and joyless. He is attacking free speech. He's now attacking the economy in his regime, and there's no one of any intelligence there. I mean, you look at the people in the front bench of the Labour Party. Are there any political heavyweights there? Is there anyone who is mildly intelligent and could actually do something productive in their area? And you look at them and you think, no, there's nobody. I mean, you know, Rachel Reeves, obviously, David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary. I mean, really, I never thought I would say those two things in the same sentence. There's no one of any redeeming qualities in the Labour Party whatsoever. It seems, you know, a bunch of people who are playing sixth form politics but don't have any understanding of how to run a country. and they're just acting like activists. But the trouble is now they're in the government and they've got to do something, but they're just continuing to act as activists who are trying to agitate against things and pull things down, and that's all we're going to get from them.
Lots going on in the chat. I've got to get on to my next guest. I will simply tell you that Just a Bloke says about your conference, I was there. It was an excellent conference. So Just a Bloke, an ally. Unless it's you. That's not your pen name,
it's
is
not
it?
me. I can't multitask, unfortunately, and speak and type at the same time. So thank you, Just a Bloke.
And thank you as well. Great to see you again. Have a good weekend. We'll no doubt see you very shortly. That's the head of the Heritage Party, a superb broadcaster too, David Curtin.